Good evening, everyone. Apopka High School welcomes you to Joe Sterling Gymnasium for Game 13 of the Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge, presented by St. Germain Chiropractic and Burn Fat Orlando. It's the event that puts the reputation of the Orlando Metro Conference on the line against some of the best opponents in the greater Central Florida area. Today we welcome as our guests, wearing the navy blue jerseys, visitors on the scoreboard, representing the Florida teams. From Mainland High School, they are the Buccaneers. And wearing the white jerseys, home on the scoreboard, representing the Orlando Metro Conference from Oak Ridge High School, please welcome the Pioneers. Let's meet the teams. We'll begin with our guests from Mainland. And we will start at guard with 6'4" senior, number 2, Angelo Mack. At small forward, 6'5", junior, number 3, Narayan Thomas. At guard, 5'10" freshman, number 5, Nathan Kirk. At guard, 5'11" senior, number 10, Jarrell Moore. And finally for the Bucks at forward and center, 7' junior, number 21, DeAndre Newland. And the Buccaneers are coached by Joe Giddens in his 6th year at the helm of Mainland. And now let's meet the starting lineup for the Oak Ridge Pioneers. Starting at point guard, 5'11" sophomore, number 2, Jalen Reese. At forward, 6'5", junior, number 3, Tyler Johnson. At guard, 6'3", junior, number 5, Elijah Elliott. At wing, junior, number 11, Cameron Simpson. And finally, for the Pioneers at power forward, 6'8", sophomore, number 21, Amari Davis. The head coach of the Pioneers is Steve Reese in his 6th year in charge of Oak Ridge. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this in every athletic competition. Tonight's game, like all 28 games in the Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge, are being live streamed on Varsity Sports Network. If you have friends or family who are back on the Oak Ridge side of town, up in Daytona Beach or anywhere in the world, they're not able to join us in person tonight, or if you find yourself having to step away later in the week, you can tune in on the VSN app on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, or on any device at varsitysportsnetwork.org. And we want to welcome those of you who have done just that. Welcome to Varsity Sports Network. My name is Mark Barchi. I'm the media director for the Metro vs. Florida Challenge. I am joined by Neil Fisher from VSN, and we'll be taking you through Game 13 tonight.
And we are underway with the second to last game of Day 2 of the Metro vs. Florida Challenge. A pair of 21s tipping it off, and Oak Ridge goes on offense first. That's Jalen Reese, number 2. Down low to the 21. That was Amari Davis, unable to drop in the deuce, rolls off, and Mainland will get its first possession.
That was it, Neil. That was it.
No dice for Mainland. 0-0. We just tipped off, not even a minute in. Oh, 2-0, excuse me.
So the Bucks will have the ball at their own baseline, and boy, I tell you what, Neil, you and I were both here for the previous game, Game 12, and that was a game that we're going to have a hard time topping for the rest of the Metro versus Florida Challenge. That game between the Olympia Titans and the Leesburg Yellow Jackets, that was a photo finish. Titans picking up the W for the Orlando Metro Conference in great style.
Yeah, certainly got your money's worth. It wasn't quite as dramatic in the last possession as last year's Dr. Phillips versus Lake Highland, but nonetheless, that is a game we've been waiting for.
And of course, Jizzle James, the MVP of that game.
38 points.
38 points, and he, of course...
For the Cincinnati commit.
That's exactly right, and he is, of course, that was not a great surprise. Everybody expected big numbers, but I don't know if anybody expected numbers quite that high as we get our first foul of the game. Foul is called against Bucks number 21, DeAndre Newland. That's his first personal foul, and the team's first. It sends Oak Ridge to the line. This will be Tyler Johnson shooting 2.
Yeah, so James ranked number 59 overall in the ESPN recruiting class, PG number 14, SC number 16, and Florida number 6, and certainly he showed why, carrying Olympia to the 3-point victory. Back to this game, though, now a 3-0 lead for Oak Ridge, of course, representing the Metro Conference. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday night. Of course, the sun has descended into darkness here at Apopka High School, Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium. Give the rebound to Amari Davis, to Newland, and Mainland will still trying to get their first point 2 minutes into this ball game. Of course, Oak Ridge under Steve Reese. If you joined us late, Mark, the other voice you hear, our public address announcer, announced Steve Reese as the coach. Even before Coach Reese got there, they're always expected to make long runs into the playoffs. Last year, a regional runner-up. That means they were the last 8 in Class 7A. As the turnaround from Johnson, and he drops in the deuce.
Johnson spins for 2.
So a 3-2 lead now for Oak Ridge. 21-8 record for Oak Ridge. And a foul.
Foul's called against number 10, Javin Westbrook. That's his first, the team's second.
Taking a look over at Mainland under Joe Giddens. He's also in his 6th season. As Thomas gets the inbound, the shot from that left wing, and splash! So 6-2 lead now. Make that 6-4. The weaving in the jiving through that lane, and Mainland now trading baskets. And they'll have an opportunity to tie. The foul. Foul on Amari Davis.
Foul's called against Pioneers. Number 21, Amari Davis, is first, and the team's first.
So Mainland was also the district champion last year. That's Class 5A District 4, 15-10 record. They are 2-5 in this event as the ball bangs off that rim, but they do Windex work. Out to the corner, another one hitting that rim. Moore unable to connect, and now things getting squirrely at the other end. Mainland takes advantage, and ball will remain with Mainland. Oak Ridge's record in this event, 5-3.
And of course, Neil, Oak Ridge, you mentioned, or you alluded to it earlier, this is a team that has great expectations every year. They're no stranger to Lakeland. It is expected that they are going to get into the playoffs just about every season. And we'll see how things get started for them here as we get a foul called against number 10, Javin Westbrook. That's his second personal foul, the team's third. Checking into the game for the Buccaneers, number 14.
And so if you're new to the Metro versus Florida Challenge, again, first, and thank you again for tuning in tonight. We hope that we've provided you with some entertainment for a part of your holiday festivities, your weekend. And as we got a stoppage. So the idea of the Metro versus Florida Challenge is the same as the ACC versus Big Ten or Southeastern Conference versus Big 12 in college at the NCAA. And every member of the Metro Conference is located in Orange County. They're all public high schools. And in each of the games, a member of the Metro Conference takes on a non-member, otherwise known as the Florida Contingency. At the end of this event, it's 28 games, 7 games over 4 days. We will total up who wins more, the Metro or the Florida Contingency. So the Metro has won. This is the 12th annual Metro versus Florida Challenge. And in terms of which event has been won by the Metro team, they have a 2-1 advantage. As we get back to live action. So Jordan Tillery, ranked number 49 in Florida, brings it in, and the 2 points, 8-4 now for Oak Ridge. Back the other way, Mainland, as we drop under 4 minutes in the first half. Certainly a pair of teams that like to move the ball up and down the fort, not necessarily a quick pace in terms of shooting, how fast they release and launch, but they certainly get up and down quickly, and that's been the majority of teams throughout this event. Ball picked up by Tillery again, ranked number 11 in the ESPN Florida, State of Florida rankings, but he can't control the ball. Nope. Possession does remain with Mainland. Possession goes over to Mainland. Back the other way, the quick pass into the corner. Good rotation on the weak side. Clinks off that rim. Tyler Johnson with the shot, doing Windex work again. Tillery down the other way, coast to coast, makes the withdrawal from the bank. So a 10-4 lead now for Oak Ridge. They've scored 4 in a row as we drop to 3 minutes in the first quarter. And now full court man-to-man being shown by Oak Ridge. Makes no never mind for Maitland as far as getting it up, but they can't connect. The long pass to Tillery. Twerks his hand and goes bank.
Jordan Tillery in transition adds 2 for the Pioneers.
6 in a row for Oak Ridge, 12-4 lead. They have led throughout. They scored on the first possession. Mainland did have it cut down to 2 at 6-4. As we go 2.5. Good defense, interior by Oak Ridge. Still with Mainland, though. They reset. Rolls off the rim and a foul on the rebound.
Foul called.
Davis grabbing the rebound.
Foul called against number 21, DeAndre Newland. That's his second and the team's fourth. And we'll pause for a full timeout requested by the Buccaneers.
So Oak Ridge with a 6-0 run. They've opened up a 12-4 run. 2:35 remaining in the first quarter from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on the campus of Apopka High School. Metro versus Florida Challenge. A 12-4 lead being held by the Oak Ridge Pioneers over the Mainland Buccaneers. This is the Metro versus Florida. Dedicated to Earl Graham, the longtime assistant coach in Central Florida area. We'll talk more about him and why he means so much to this event as the game progresses. In the meantime, though, Oak Ridge on a 6-0 run, and they represent the Metro Conference, Mainland representing the Florida Contingency.
Foul is called against number 14. That's Clay Cornett's first personal foul, and the team's fifth.
Back to live action. 8 returners for Mainland. And in out from there.
3 for Jordan Tillery.
So Tillery's tray makes it 15-4, a 9-0 run now.
That's 7, and for Tillery, he's got nearly half of the Pioneers' points.
Yeah, of course, his teammates are getting the ball to him. It's one thing to be the go-to guy, but you do need the assists. You do need your teammates. Skying for that rebound was Newland, and he does a nice job and reaps the reward, drawing the foul.
Push is called against number 21, Amari Davis, his second, the team's second. That was on the rebound, so it will be Bucks ball at the opposing baseline. But first, checking into the game for the Pioneers is number 23, Andreas Smith.
So if you joined us late, Newland and Davis tipped off a pair of 21s, and they've been going at it this entire game. The tip-off was just exactly that, the tip-off. The tip
Foul
of the
called
iceberg.
against Pioneers number 23, Andreas Smith, his first, the team's third. So he spends all of about 3 seconds in the game before committing his first foul. Back out to the corner.
1:40 remaining, 15-4 lead for Oak Ridge.
And a beautiful trap put up there by Tyler Johnson and Amari Davis, forcing the Bucks to dribble out of bounds and turn it over to the Pioneers.
Yeah, and you know, Mark, I'm Neil Fisher. That's Mark Barchi. The other voice that you hear is also our public address announcer and director for this game. And there is Tillery, long range, a little too long, actually quite a bit too long. But nowadays, these teams that like to get up and down the court, it's the defense that predicates that fast pace. And certainly Oak Ridge, I wouldn't say no different. I'd say they're like one of the forerunners.
Of course, they had a regional runner-up finish on a 21-8 season. Again, 20-plus win seasons are very much the norm for Oak Ridge as we get a putback, and it does indeed fall. That's Narian Thomas with a second chance layup for the Bucks.
So 15-7 breaks a 9-0 run, and right back at the other way, the quick
Tyler
slap
Johnson answers for the Pioneers.
Makes the withdrawal, and they 17-7 lead, 17-6. So Mainland breaks the run, but Oak Ridge makes no never mind, and that defense is continuing to haunt Maitland. They'll keep possession.
Held ball. Possession. Buccaneers. Checking into the game for Oak Ridge. Number 5, Elijah Elliott.
So 29 seconds remaining, a 17-6 lead for Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge has led from the first possession. And Jordan Tillery is the man standing out in the early going. Give the answer, though, to Elliott going withdrawal.
Nathan Kirk gets the basket for the Bucks.
So last opportunity, 4 seconds for Oak Ridge. Can they get the slam? Yes! What a way!
Dunk!
What a way to end that first quarter.
Elijah Elliott to Tyler Johnson, ending the first quarter in style to make it a 19-8 lead for the Pioneers. An 11-point advantage for Oak Ridge at the end of 8 minutes here in Game 13 of the 12th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. More from Joe Sterling Gymnasium after a quick break.
Second quarter about to begin from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on the campus of Apopka High School. The 2022 Metro versus Florida Challenge dedicated to Earl Graham. Oak Ridge representing the Metro Conference, 19-8 lead over Mainland. They have led since the first possession. Jordan Tillery dropping in a deuce. Lead now up to 11 as we begin the second quarter. And if you're just tuning in, a spectacular ending to that first quarter. That's certainly not spectacular. Off the side of the rim. An alley-oop with no time remaining. And the soft floater.
Jalen Reese opens up second quarter scoring for the Pioneers.
So Oak Ridge continues to systematically increase that lead up to 13 now. 4 days this event is spread over. Count the deuce. The floater.
Narian Thomas and one.
Thomas cuts that lead to 21-10, and he'll go
Fouls
to the
called
line.
against number 23, Andreas Smith, is second.
Nope.
And the three-point play is good for Thomas.
And that'll cut the lead to 21-11. First time tonight in this game, Mainland scored 3 consecutive points. That's Tillery in the middle, forces the issue. Contact, no whistle. Can't get the ball to drop, and Mainland coming back, taking a page out of Oak Ridge's book. And
no basket. Traveling first. Pioneers ball. Checking into the game for the Bucks, number 23. And for the Pioneers, number 11, Cameron Simpson.
So Oak Ridge, we've alluded to it throughout that first quarter. Defense is their forte, and they continue to play it. Mainland answering, though. Of course, Oak Ridge can afford at this point to go possession for possession. Turnover for turnover. I'm Neil Fisher. Thank you for joining us on this night before Thanksgiving 2022, 12th Annual Metro versus Florida Challenge, dedicated to Earl Graham. Oak Ridge with the 10-point lead, and now Mainland with the mistake over and back. So Oak Ridge gets a gift on that play. They were playing defense, did make things somewhat difficult, but still Mainland, I'd say that was more of an unforced error than anything of Oak Ridge is doing. And on the other end, slam! Tyler Johnson off the sweet pass, cutting through the lane. So Mainland, they've had some opportunities, as we just alluded to, as far as creating turnover and transition, but haven't been able to convert. So this is the second to last game tonight, the sixth if you're counting upwards out of 7. There's 7 games over 4 nights, yesterday, today, Friday, and Saturday. Of course, we'll take tomorrow off so you can enjoy turkey dinner and whatever sports you might like to watch. Of course, an unusual schedule this holiday weekend with the World Cup being played if you're into soccer, along with the usual football and basketball smorgasbord. And now things get hairy down low, picked up by Oak Ridge. And again, on the pass of transition, another alley-oop, and a 25-11 lead.
Elijah Elliott to Jordan Tillery on the alley-oop basket, and we'll pause for a full timeout requested by the Buccaneers. Back with more from Joe Sterling Gymnasium in a game that is going all the right ways for the Pioneers here in Game 13 of the 12th Annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. Welcome back to Joe Sterling Gymnasium, home of the 12th Annual Metro versus Florida Challenge. You're watching Game 13 right now with Oak Ridge taking on the Mainland Buccaneers. My name is Mark Barchi, Media Director for the Metro versus Florida Challenge, joined by Neil Fisher from Varsity Sports Network. And we are taking you through the second quarter where we have just about 5.25 minutes left to go here. It so far has been relatively smooth sailing for the Pioneers, but 3-point basket for Javen Westbrook.
So a 25-14 lead. Mainland certainly needed those points. Oak Ridge with possession now. They'll look to increase that lead. Answer. There's contact. A whack. And that's on Oak Ridge. Number 3, Tyler Johnson. So Mainland now with an opportunity to cut that lead back below double digits. And just as quickly, it goes by the wayside. The swipe, that quick hands by Cameron Simpson, the junior wingman. And so Simpson goes to the free throw line.
Cameron Simpson shooting 2. The foul was called against Kirk.
So as you heard Mark say, Kirk with the foul. And that is a total of 6 now, team. Mainland on the other end. double team down along that right sideline. And once again, the Oak Ridge faithful express their joy. We've seen that a number of times, that double team along just high of the corner, about 5 feet high. And that's been Oak Ridge's bread and butter throughout this game. Quarter and a half into it, 27-14 lead. The drive, the slash, the dash, and make the withdrawal for Jalen Reese.
Reese has 2 for the Pioneers.
The Florida top 10 ESPN rankings prospect.
Foul is called against number 4, Jordan Tillery. That's his first personal foul, the team's 6th. So that means we're going to be shooting 1-1 both directions for the next 4 minutes and 5 seconds.
Coming up next after this, the finale of day 2. That'll pit the Wekiva Mustangs against the Seminole Seminoles. And score the bank, the reverse.
Number 11, Cameron Simpson.
So 3.5 minutes remaining. Pretty much the attendance has been steady throughout today. Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, the site, nice soft floating deuce. Score that to Kirk. 29-18 lead now for Oak Ridge as they come back the other way. Good defense, slatted away.
And Mack with the block there. Here comes the tray from the corner. That's not going to fall.
And tracking that down, Elliott showing some good hustle. So about 150 fans we've had for most of these games, maybe even 200. Most of the fans have emptied, and we've gotten the same amount that replaced as we go transition the other way.
In transition, it's Javen Westbrook. 5 points for him tonight. Back for the tray. No, off the heel. And the rebound this time goes to Mack. Marion Thomas is fouled on the way up. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 for the Bucks. The foul is called against Pioneers number 10. That's his first and the team's 7th. Thomas with 7 points, looking for 8. Not there, off the heel.
So while we got a stoppage in the action, Mark, of course, mentioned earlier, Earl Graham, whose name is now attached to this event. And, of course, Earl was a longtime assistant coach, 40-plus years. He was the kind of coach, the loyal right-hand man of the head coach. That's Mack ripping down the rebound. And
3 for Javen Westbrook.
So down to 6, the closest Mainland has been since the very beginning of this game. Again, Oak Ridge scored on the first possession and took a 6-2 lead. So Coach Graham, when I say he was a loyal right-hand man, not just in the fact that he was the guy who did like all the logistical organizational stuff that a coach needs, but also as the possession will remain with Mainland. He was the kind of coach, it seems like every team that has a lot of success and every coach who has a lot of success wins 300-400 games has this kind of coach. No dice, but score the Windex work for
Clay Cornett adds 2 for the Bucks.
For Cornett.
Going the other way, and transition layup not going to fall there for Reese.
So Coach Graham would be the guy who worked with the students, the student athletes at 5, 6 in the morning.
Sharp-looking block there from Andreas Smith. That's going to stay. Actually, is going to go to the Pioneers. Nice work by Smith, not only getting the block, but getting to bounce off the Bucks on the way out. And so we'll pause to clean up a little bit of sweat, but it's going to be Oak Ridge's ball.
And the other thing, and the reason I bring up Coach Graham, Mark, is for those of you who don't know, again, thank you for joining us. But Mark and I are the in-house team for the Wekiva Mustangs, just down the road about 5 miles. We're on the northwest side here on Apopka High School. Wekiva's on the southeast side right next to 429 as action continues. Jalen Reese. And Coach Graham was part of Coach Williams' staff when he started the program at Wekiva. And, of course, Wekiva never would have been able to get into the playoffs in only 3 years and reach 20 wins without Coach Graham working behind the scenes. So, of course, Coach Graham died, passed on in 2020, January of COVID, and that is why this event is now named after him. Want to keep his memory alive as the Jam. So with that, 31-25, the lead had been cut down to 4 by Mainland. Mainland showing some resiliency and showing, like I say, their basketball legs. But just as quickly, we get the slam and now the turnover. And again, Oak Ridge has done that a number of times, a different location, but that trap, that two-man trap along the right sideline has been lethal, or if you prefer, the far sideline. Either case, it has been lethal to Mainland. So quite frankly, Oak Ridge should actually have a couple more baskets. Remember, this is the first regular season game for both these teams. As we go alley-oop again, and it was a reverse through the net. Tyler Johnson. And there was a whistle. But, man, we ended the first quarter with that play. And now we see the same play with the reverse twist. That was such a high-flying act, though. Johnson has to come out. Looks like he hurt his nose. So what was a 4-point lead has now gone back to 8. 9.5 seconds remaining in this Metro versus Florida Challenge. Mainland needs to get some points heading into that second half with some momentum, in addition to cutting into the lead. Quick couple of passes. No dice for Cornett, and nobody will grab the ball as the buzzer sounds. So Oak Ridge takes the 2-0 lead. They built it up to as much as 13. When all said and done, we have an 8-point lead, and Mark closes out for the first half.
That takes us to halftime, 33-25 your score at intermission. An 8-point advantage for the Pioneers over the Bucks as we go into halftime here in Game 13 of the 12th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, presented by St. Germain Chiropractic Clinics and Burn Fat Orlando. Back with more from Joe Sterling Gymnasium here in Apopka after about a 7.5-minute break. Welcome back to Joe Sterling Gymnasium as the Buccaneers have the opening possession of the third period. And we are underway with the second half of Game 13 here at the 12th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. My name is Mark Barchi, Media Director for the Metro versus Florida Challenge, joined by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief as well as from VSN. And we'll be taking you through the rest of this game as well as the next one coming up as we are about to cap off the night with Wekiva versus Seminole coming up in Game 14. Of course, this is week 1 of the men's basketball season, which presents kind of some interesting challenges. We get a nice little spin move there. And Narayan Thomas puts the Bucks on the board for the second half. This being a week 1 event for the men's basketball season, most of these teams participated in a preseason classic to try to work out the kinks and get a sense of where they stood. Of course, those games don't count on the record. The points don't count, the stats don't count, but the game itself is still a very useful tool. But for most teams that are participating in the Metro versus Florida Challenge this week, this is their first game that counts on the record. Most of these teams are starting 0-0. As we get a tray launched, and it falls. That's Cameron Simpson for 3.
First points of the second half for Oak Ridge. Puts them back up by 9. Taking a quick look at the scores. So 13 points for Tyler Johnson and 9 points for Jordan Tillery. That's the Oak Ridge side.
DeAndre Newland gets fed a dunk for the Bucks. That's a move that we saw from Oak Ridge several times in the first half. Now the Bucks get in on that a little bit too.
Yeah, taking a page out of Oak Ridge's book. On the mainland side, Nerian Thomas with 9 points and Moore with 8 points. And now they'll have an opportunity to cut into that 7-point lead.
You saw there Davis waited his turn but couldn't get it to pop from under the basket. Launching the 3 off the heel. Can't get it to fall for Newland. We'll go the other way. In transition, the 3 short. And Thomas comes up with the rebound. Now we're going to try for another transition play. Spin move, doesn't like what he sees, goes back in the paint to Newland. Nothing there either for him. And we're going to get a shooting foul called against the Pioneers. Number 5, Elijah Elliott, his first, the team's first of this half. And that will send number 21, that's DeAndre Newland, to the line shooting 2.
The other difference in what created that 8-point lead at halftime, again 33-25 Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge had 5 players scored compared to 4 for Mainland, in addition to their top 2 scorers outscoring Mainland's by a 5-point count, 22-17. So I have to give Mainland credit. They've taken some punches. They've been on the ropes a few times as well, to use a boxing terminology. And nonetheless, they have stuck around. They've stayed close enough that the run could put them back in the lead. And now a 36-30 score as Newland drops a couple of free throws. So Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, the site. As Oak Ridge goes underneath, and this time a clean block by Newland, and best of both worlds as he also gets the call possession-wise. Went off of the Oak Ridge player. So chance to cut that lead. Now 6 points, 2 possessions, albeit 2 3-pointers, and the long outlet pass. Give Oak Ridge credit, they got back quickly. No opportunity for Mainland to take advantage and catch Oak Ridge by surprise off that long pass. The drive through the lane and whacked, contact. It's Jalen Reese with
foul
the drive.
Foul is called against number 21, Amari Davis, his 3rd personal foul. And the team's 2nd of this half. Bucks ball at the baseline.
The shot launched, the trade, no dice.
Put back, not going to fall either. More action under the baskets. And now finally we're going to get DeAndre Newland called for traveling. Pioneers ball.
So Mainland with an opportunity to cut into that 6-point lead. And goes by the wayside.
Checking into the game, number 3, Tyler Johnson.
The traveling call short-circuiting that opportunity. And
still, though, good work on the boards, just getting those offensive rebounds in the first place. I know it doesn't look great for you in the stats that you get called for a turnover, but now at the other end, we're going to get a layup by number 3, Tyler Johnson.
Lead back up to 8, and we've seen that throughout the first 2.5 quarters. Every time Mainland cuts into that lead.
And a putback, not going to go either. Nice work by Tyler Johnson getting that block. Equally nice work by DeAndre Newland, who had a laser beam sent to him from across the floor. Now we're going to get a tie-up at half court.
Yeah, and good sportsmanship by Mainland, Angelo, Mack, and Thomas helping up the Oak Ridge player. After they duked it out, they went at it cats and dogs style, to use an old cliche.
Now we're going to pause here because that fracas at center court also left some sweat on the floor.
So Oak Ridge, again, talked about it in the first half, coming off a 21-8 season. Regional runner-up, their 7A, Class 7A District 5 member. Mainland, 15-10 record, a respectable record. That's a .667 winning percentage, not quite as good as Oak Ridge, though. And they were their district champion, Class 5A District 4. Of course, Mainland out of Daytona Beach, almost right next to the Speedway out there. And
good look there by Tyler Johnson. Couldn't get it all the way up, though. Now we pop back out outside the arc. The three is short, bounces out, and the rebound goes to Mack. And we're going to get a foul on the rebound. Pioneers foul called against number 11, Cameron Simpson, his first, and the team's third of this half. So we'll go to the baseline with the inbound from Thomas.
And also, Mark, as a side note, I believe these two teams are the tallest in this event.
Through the fingers of DeAndre Newland, and Tyler Johnson says, well, if you insist, I'll take that. Going the other way,
Swatted away.
Swatted by Newland.
Picked up by Kirk, who crosses midcourt. He's going to take it all himself, unable to get a good look. But Mainland, as they have all game, quick to that basketball, especially the 50-50 balls, as coaches like to call them. And speaking of height, there's your biggest guy out there, Newland, at 7 feet tall even.
Here comes the transition play, and it's a slam dunk for Elijah Elliott. That's a highlight reel maneuver right there. The steal, the clear path, the dunk. Going the other way now in transition in. Here's a layup for Nathan Kirk. So that one not quite as dazzling, but the points count just the same. And now we're going to get
a timeout. Coach Giddens.
Delay of game warning is called against the Bucks.
No timeout. So a 40-32 score, 3:08 remaining in the third quarter. This is the 2022 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. Oak Ridge has led since the first possession. They lead as many as 13. It's gone most of the time between 6 and 10 points.
Three will not drain for Andreas Smith, and the rebound goes to Thomas.
Both these teams, as you can see, like to move that ball up the court quickly.
Yeah, for as many teams, because the teams submit all of their bios and their season outlooks to me from the head coaches in advance of the tournament. I put the program together for MetroVersusFL.com, and it's amazing how many coaches describe their team as having an up-tempo offense, and then you get out here and actually watch them play, and it's all half-court sets. These are two teams that legitimately have an up-tempo offense. You see every single drive they're looking for a transition opportunity. Sometimes they take it, sometimes it doesn't work out, but every single drive they are looking for an opportunity to pass the ball down to the front court, and now we're going to get some contact at the edge of the paint.
Yeah, certainly in comparison, Mark, of course, you talking in general terms, but to get more specific, when you look at it in comparison to the other teams.
Block is called against Javin Westbrook. It is the first personal foul for the Bucks this half, and the third for Westbrook.
And up and down the court, high tempo pace.
Yeah, it's no wonder we keep having a clean sweat off the floor if they're going to move that fast.
Ooh, looked like it was going down for Tillery.
Well, he's got to get a second chance. That doesn't fall either, but he earns a trip to the charity
Muscled
shred.
his way into a rebounding position and gets rewarded with the foul.
Foul called against Bucks number 3, and Arian Thomas, his first. That's the team's second of this half, and it sends Jordan Tillery to the line shooting 2.
So 40-32 score. Oak Ridge has led since the first possession. They dropped a deuce. And it was actually Tillery who scored, it was actually Tyler Johnson who scored those first 2 points on a layup. 2:09 remaining. Foul trouble not an issue. Only 3 for Oak Ridge, 2 for Mainland. And the big guy, Newland, clearing the rack on that rebound.
Foul on the rebound for Jordan Tillery, his second. That'll be the team's fourth of the half. Bucks ball at their own baseline.
So, mentioned a couple minutes ago, these are the two tallest teams in this event. 6'5" or high or taller. Oak Ridge has 5 players. And Mainland has 4 players, 6'5" or higher.
Over the corner, the three is short. Rebound for Cornett. He'll get down under the basket to his teammate Thomas. Nothing there either. We'll go back out to the top again. The three doesn't fall again. And now it's going to go out of bounds to the Pioneers. So the Bucks, not for want of opportunities to get back into this game, but they still trail by 9 here with just under 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
Yeah, you feel like, again, both these teams, it's not really an issue of the up and down pace. They do both, I'd say they're equal in that, but it just feels like Oak Ridge is maybe just a little bit more skilled in the other areas.
And Nathan Kirk picks up the steal and the foul. Foul is called against Pioneers. Number 2, Jalen Reese, his first. And that's the team's 5th for this half. And that's going to send the Bucks to the free throw line. Nathan Kirk will shoot 2. 6 points in the book so far for Nathan Kirk. Looking for 7 and 8 here. And he gets the first. Checking into the game for the Pioneers, number 11, Cameron Simpson.
So Kirk at the free throw line after bursting through the Oak Ridge defense.
2 for 2.
And makes the most of his opportunities. Lead back down to 7. For most of this game, that lead's been between 6 and 11 points. And now with 1:15 remaining, one of the few times that we see an actual half-court set and a deliberate pace in terms of shooting the ball. Oak Ridge working it around, and great interception.
That was Angelo Mack that picked up that one, sends it in transition down the baseline, and Nathan Kirk adds 2. Making it look easy. And now they've cut the lead to 5. So if you thought that Mainland was getting set to go quietly into the night as of late first, early second quarter, think again.
Yeah, and this is the key moment of the game. This is the third time that Mainland's cut the lead down to 2 possessions, twice 5 points, including this one. They got it down to 4 one other time, and then Oak Ridge was able to get a couple of turnovers and a couple of buckets to get that lead back up to 3 possessions, 9 and 10 points.
11-8 the score since halftime in favor of the Bucks.
Now Oak Ridge working that clock.
They go to the corner. Knew he was going to get a shot block, so he pops it instead to Elliott. That's not there. We go the other side, and it's a dunk for Narian Thomas. And that will be the last word of the third period. 41-38. That cuts it to a 3-point game going into the final 8 minutes.
41-38 the score as Mainland showing some life. And again, they get over that hump of cutting that lead down to 1 possession. This is the Varsity Sports Network, the Metro versus Florida Challenge from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on Apopka High School. Welcome back to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on the campus of Apopka High School. The 2022 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. Second to last game on day 2, a 41-38 lead for Oak Ridge over Mainland. Oak Ridge representing the Metro Conference, Mainland representing the Florida contingency. Oak Ridge has led from the beginning, scoring on the first possession, but what was once a 13-point lead has now been cut down to 3 by Mainland, and no, they won't tie it on that game. Newland launching, showing that he also can go outside as well as inside, the 7-foot center. And so Oak Ridge dodges another bullet, and Mainland certainly coming into this fourth quarter looking good. They closed out that third quarter with a slam dunk. Oak Ridge had possession. Looked like they were going to take the last shot. They got a good look with about 5 seconds. Rebound with 3.5 seconds. Mainland grabbing it. And then a couple of long passes to Newland. And as I said, a slam. And we go into this quarter only down by 3. And so we're still there now, 45 seconds into this fourth and final quarter. So if you're new to the Metro versus Florida Challenge, again, thank you for joining us I'm Neil Fisher. The other voice you hear is Mark Barchi. And the Metro versus Florida Challenge, every member of the Metro Conference in 28 games over 4 days, 7 each, take on a non-member. All the public high schools in Orange County are members of the Metro Conference. We've pretty much increased by about 1/3, 33% over the last 15 years or so. Now 22 teams in the Metro Conference. And Mainland going to work. Looking to cut into that 3-point lead or even tie. Attempted steal by Tillery, and now we do get the steal. Tillery will be rewarded. The 5th slam dunk for the Pioneers.
Jordan Tillery in transition off the steal.
That's a huge basket.
And another steal, this time picked up by Cameron Simpson.
Yeah, and this time Simpson drains away.
For Cameron Simpson. Timeout.
So Mainland got it down to 3, the closest they've been since about 2 minutes into this game. Oak Ridge scoring first, upping the lead on a 7-0 run at the end of the first quarter. But now they have re-extended that lead back up to 8 just that quickly as we get a timeout.
Full timeout called by the by the Bucks. Back in just a moment.
So, Oak Ridge, what was different in the last series of play was Oak Ridge, the lead was cut down to 3 points. The closest that Mainland had it, they now have possession going against the double team. But what was not different was Oak Ridge found a way to get a couple of turnovers, and suddenly that systematic, gradual, but steady cutting into the lead grows all the way back out to 8 points in 3 possessions in a matter of about 15 seconds. Oak Ridge firepower rearing its head again in a 46-38 lead as we reach about 5:40 in the fourth quarter. This is the Metro versus Florida Challenge.
3 from the corner, not going to go. Put back, not there either. Fracas for the rebound, and the Pioneers come up with it.
Oak Ridge goes back to work. After the rebound, they'll keep possession.
Swatted away by Thomas out of bounds.
So the other thing, we talked about this earlier in the quarter, both these teams move quickly. They get up and down the court quickly, but also they move that ball quickly in the half court. They don't really have a lot of sets.
Jordan Tillery's 3 won't fall, but he does pick up an Oscar for the fall.
And now Mainland, as they have all game, they've taken some heavy hits by Oak Ridge. Again, couple turnovers, a couple of quick transition baskets, that donkey kick spectacular style. They've been able to keep within reach, and there's another example as
Angela
Reese
Mack rolls in the layup.
lead back down to 6 in 2 possessions. As Oak Ridge goes back to work, and just as I was talking about, not only do they move the ball up and down the court quickly, but they move the ball, they pass the ball quickly. The actual pass moves quickly. They slow it down, doesn't
Bounces
do them
out
any
for
good.
Johnson. Rebound goes to Davis. Another chance coming here into the paint. Too much heat from Tillery, and the rebound comes to Newland.
And there's another turnover, batted away. Got a case of ping pong, winds up in the corner, and splash!
For Cameron Simpson from Jordan Tillery. Well, that drive went through the full spectrum of emotions in about 4 seconds. And we're going to get one that rolls all the way into the sideline. A little bit of frustration there you can see on the face of Amari Davis, but manages to reel it in. It's going to be Pioneers ball after they managed to make Maitland touch it last. Just over 4 to go here in the ball game, and we've got one going. The Bucks have not led yet tonight, but they've come within 1 possession right at the end of the third quarter. And then, as you mentioned, Neil, Pioneers turning up the heat on defense and now on offense as we get a dunk from Tyler Johnson from Cameron Simpson.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the exact count is, but I know there's been at least 7 by Oak Ridge. Mainland's had a couple too, but Oak Ridge with the 7. And again, it's not just Oak Ridge scoring, but how they score.
Cameron Simpson is called on the foul. It's his second, the team's 6th. So Simpson trying to make what happened on the last few plays happen again. Got a little too aggressive and made some contact on that attempt for the steal.
The spin, the shot, no dice.
So now Mainland will enjoy bonus for the rest of the game if that should become a relevant issue. Pioneers had their lead cut to 3 at the beginning of this quarter, and over the course of the last almost 5 minutes, they have extended that back to 11.
From the corner, slides off the rim. Oak Ridge ripping it down. That's Johnson.
And we're going to get a 30-second timeout called by the Bucks, as that's all they. Do they have a full left?
So 51-40. Oak Ridge in the lead. They have led from the first possession.
30-second timeout called by the Bucks.
And just that quickly, you blink an eye, and it doesn't really seem like it, but Oak Ridge is 1 basket away from reaching their highest lead of the game at 13 points. This is the Metro vs. Florida Challenge 2022 edition.
And welcome back to Joe Sterling Gymnasium. You saw on the graphic that we just had up there, you've got 3 players in double figures for Oak Ridge: Tyler Johnson, Jordan Tillery, Cameron Simpson with 17, 12, and 13, respectively. Narayan Thomas and Nathan Kirk both in double figures for the Bucks with 11 and 10, respectively. So lots of big-name scoring going on as we pass the 3-minute mark in the fourth quarter.
Actually, fourth quarter,
Excuse
Mark.
me, fourth quarter.
Yeah. It's been a long day. Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending a part of your holiday week with us.
Here comes the paint. Not there at first, but that's going to be Amari Davis fed by Jalen Reese.
The interior passing. And Mark, want to point out, too, we've talked about Oak Ridge. They're a quick team, and there you see it, the hands and how quickly they get up, the body movement. Won't do them any good, but they do keep possession. But they're also a smart team, too. They don't really force an issue. They don't make a lot of bad passes. They do make a lot more baseball passes than any team I've seen in quite a while. But they throw them in positions, to use the old football analogy, where only the receiver can catch it.
Yeah, and what I'll say, since we've entered the fourth quarter, really the difference to me is that the Pioneers have managed to keep up the same speed and intensity that they did for the first 3 quarters, whereas Mainland is showing just a little bit of just a slight loss of edge with weariness starting to set in.
Yeah, that intensity maybe went from like 90 to 80, whereas Oak Ridge remained at 90.
Angelo Mack is called on the push. That's his first personal foul, the team's 3rd. That'll send the Pioneers to the free throw line. This will be Jalen Reese shooting 2.
Yeah, and Oak Ridge on a 10-0 run, too. And again, talked about this right before we went to the break. It doesn't really seem like it. Now it does seem like it, but when we went to the break and that 3-point lead grew to 11, it didn't really seem like they were on that 8-0 run. You just look up at the board, and it's like suddenly, they've gotten 3 consecutive baskets. And now, of course, we're now on a 12-0 run.
Yeah, since the beginning of the fourth quarter, it's been 14-2. Spin move, and there it is. That puts the run to a halt. DeAndre Newland spins for the layup.
And this is what I'm talking about with Oak Ridge. Just them being intelligent. You see they use that right sideline. They didn't score there. Probably wasn't a smart decision to try to drive that baseline with the lead.
Yeah, stripped by Thomas there. Beautiful.
But they did take about 12 seconds off the clock.
And now we're going to get a whistle here. It looks like
1:21 remaining, 13-point lead for Oak Ridge. And Coach
timeout.
Reese.
Pioneers.
Coach Reese calls for the timeout. Give his team some final instructions how to close out this game. 55-42 is your score. Day 2 of the Metro versus Florida Challenge from the Apopka High School on the Varsity Sports Network. We'll be back with the final 80 seconds.
Welcome back to Joe Sterling Gymnasium, home of the Apopka Blue Darters, and today home of the Metro versus Florida Challenge as we get a 3 from Nathan Kirk.
So not quite over yet, Mark, as far as the outcome. Still a long way to go, though, for Mainland, trailing by 10 as we reach 1 minute. Do we get an answer? No, but that's as good. The rebound, and now they go back to work. Oak Ridge. Score the deuce, the withdrawal
Amari
from the
Davis, and 1.
So they didn't get the answer the first time, but the second time was even more emphatic.
DeAndre Newland is called on his 3rd personal foul, the team's 4th. Davis shooting 1.
And so this would really put Mainland in a bad position.
Well, it already does, down
yeah.
12. But the way the momentum of this game is going, 12 points is a lot for 55 seconds, but we will get 2 of them here as Nathan Kirk floats 2 in for the Bucks, and we'll pause as they take their final timeout. 30-second timeout is called by Mainland.
So a quick whistle as Coach Giddens wants the timeout. 57-47, 49 seconds remaining. Oak Ridge in control, but not quite able to close out this victory. And welcome back to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on the campus of the Apopka High School. That's the Blue Darters, but right now in the Metro versus Florida Challenge, we have the Oak Ridge Pioneers leading the Mainland Buccaneers by 57-47 advantage. So they're looking to close out the victory, secure it. And as we've seen so many times throughout this game, they use that right sideline, a couple of baseball passes. And there's the foul.
Travel.
Oh, travel. Okay, so Mainland does force the issue. But as I've mentioned, Mark, several times now in the last 2 minutes or so, even though Oak Ridge isn't scoring, they're taking time off that clock, another 12 seconds coming off. And again, that's being smart, using those sidelines as their friend.
Yeah, and in case Mainland should try to go to a red defense, which I don't think they will,
well, it doesn't
they
matter
still got
now.
2 fouls to give, and now, that steal, I think it's going to just about wrap it up here as they draw now we've got some contact here.
That's Tillery with the steal, draws the foul, and you can see now, the refs are having to get really physical with
that's
with
Josiah
22.
Simeon.
Yeah, got to keep control of your emotions. I know it's been a long game. And, that's the style that Oak Ridge plays. It's not only the tangible of getting the turnovers, the quick baskets, and just really creating a feel of the kick to the gut with a couple turnovers in a row, but they also wear on a team emotionally. So let's hear what Mark says. What is the call, Mark?
A personal foul is called against Josiah Simeon. Then double technical fouls are called against Jordan Tillery and Josiah Simeon for the Pioneers and Bucks respectively. So that'll put up 8 total team fouls for the Pioneers, 6 for the Bucks. And as that would have been a shooting foul, Jordan Tillery will take the free throws that would have been associated with the original shooting foul, since the technical fouls will offset each other.
So 24.6 seconds remaining, as we'll have free throws coming up now. And now the refs are calling the players.
Yeah, the players went to the other side of the half court because that's what they're trained to do if there's a technical foul. But the double technical fouls offset, so these are not technical free throws. These are just regular old shooting foul free throws. Tillery with 12 points, trying to make it 14. He gets the 13th at least.
So that'll up the lead to 11, although, again, Mark, we're in a situation where it's more about taking time off the clock. If you're Oak Ridge, if you're Mainland, you're trying to conserve as much time. Although, as Mark did point out, I think that last possession, and now, of course, the 2 points should close out this game. Although we're still going to shoot some more fouls.
Foul is called against Pioneers number 3, Tyler Johnson, his second, the team's 9th. That will put the Bucks into bonus. Angelo Mack shooting 1-1.
So at the line, number 2, Angelo Mack.
2 points in the book so far for him tonight. Hits the first and earns a second.
So Oak Ridge scored the first points of this game, and they have never trailed. They got a 7-0. They produced a 7-0 run over the last minute or so of the first quarter to extend the lead to 9. They got the lead up to as many as 13 in the midway through the third quarter. Mainland hung around, never trailing by more than 13 for most of the game. It was between 6 and 10 deficit, but they were never able to get it by more than 3. And then a 12-0 run.
Tyler Johnson spinning around for 2.
And then a 12-0 run, about 4 minutes to 2 minutes remaining in the game, put the game out of reach for Mainland and secured the victory for Oak Ridge. And again, it was a typical, stereotypical Oak Ridge run.
Jalen Reese called on his second personal foul, the team's 10th, and that will put the Bucks into double bonus, shooting 2. Angelo Mack.
It was the kind of run that you didn't really realize you were on a run until the damage had already been done.
Mack's first will rim out.
A couple of turnovers, a couple of bad shots taken by Maitland, and of course Oak Ridge's endurance, and we talked about it, Mark and I. It's not just a matter that Oak Ridge moves the ball quickly. They move body-wise. The players move quickly around the paint. They get the ball quickly up to the court. They pass the ball quickly, and their endurance came into play during that 2-minute period. And so they take the victory, representing the Metro Conference. Your final score 61-50. Mark, close us out and tell us what is next.
Takes us to the end of game number 13. After having their lead cut to as little as 3 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the Pioneers have a strong finish, and they will end up with an 11-point win for the Metro Conference. 61-50 is the final score of game 13. But before we move on to our final game of the night, we have some hardware to hand out in honor of Coach Earl Graham, who influenced the lives of thousands of young men over his 40 years as a coach in Central Florida. For 15 years, Coach Graham worked as an assistant coach alongside Apopka head coach Scott Williams, the last 7 of which were at Apopka. The Metro vs. Florida Challenge honors the legacy of Coach Graham by awarding our game's most valuable player with a plaque in Earl's name and image. Presenting the most valuable player plaque is Coach Graham's son, Jay Graham. And in this game, it goes to our top scorer for the Pioneers, the 6'5" junior forward, number 3, Tyler Johnson, with 19 points in the books tonight. We'd like to thank everyone for coming out to Joe Sterling Gymnasium or for joining us on Varsity Sports Network. We're going to take a quick break here to reset for our final game of the night. Wekiva versus Seminole is coming up to close Day 2 of the Metro vs. Florida Challenge, 12th installment.